running, never bothered about what could be coming. Every day we danced and life was smiling. We were young and drunk in love.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new around here. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm so happy to have you here for my totally uncommon and unique baby boy names video. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to go ahead and link my baby girl names video down in the description box below. I'm also going to pop it right up here on the cards. If you are interested in baby girl names as well, make sure you head over and check that video out. There are tons of beautiful baby girl names in that list that I think that you will absolutely love. So if you want to watch this video first or watch that one first, either way, I will have them linked together so that you guys can check them out. So for those of you who are new around here, my name is Rachel. I have a motherhood, lifestyle, travel, well, it's travel when we're not in the middle of a pandemic channel here on YouTube. And I make all sorts of great content here on YouTube. I upload videos twice a week on Mondays and Fridays. And if you are interested in any of my other content, make sure that you hit that red subscribe button so that you don't miss out on my future videos. Go ahead and hit that bell notification too so that you get notified when I upload. So that way you'll never miss anything that I upload. All right, let's get into my top 6 baby boy names that are unique or unusual. So I am so excited to bring you guys this list. As many of you know, I am pregnant with twins, one boy and one girl. So we went through a lot of names trying to decide what names were going to be the right ones for baby boy and baby girl. And we also have a 2-year-old daughter. So our daughter's name is Chloe Stella. Our baby girl's name is going to be Mackenzie Willow. And our baby boy's name is going to be Miles Liam. And you may think, wow, you're making an uncommon and unusual name video, but your kids' names aren't super uncommon or unusual, and there's a reason for that. My husband tends to lean way more towards common and usual names than I do, and I tend to lean a little bit more towards some of the unique or individual names, and so we really tried to meet in the middle. We tried to find names that had something a little bit unique about them or special about them that just felt right to our hearts, and then also that were common enough that my husband felt super comfortable and totally like, okay, that name sounds good on a college application type of thing. So that is why we ended up choosing the names that we have chosen for our children. In case you see him back here, this is my kitty cat. He's an old grumpy man, but his name is Moccasin, which is a unique version of something like boots. So he says hi. All right, guys, let's get right into talking about all 6 of my favorite unique and unusual boys' names. So the first name on my list, I absolutely love. And honestly, I probably would have actually considered this name had I not have had a nephew whose name is very, very similar to this. So the first name, and I'll put it down here on the screen so you can see the spelling, is Roman. So I absolutely love the name Roman. I think that it is so strong sounding. It's really cool sounding. It's got like a unique twist to it. Kind of sometimes reminds me of like Romeo, but like it's less like flowery and a little bit more like gritty, I guess. So I love the name Roman. The reason that I say it's so similar to my nephew's name is my nephew's name is Rowan, and that's literally one letter different, which actually you just turn the M upside down, it makes a W, and it would be my nephew's name, Rowan. So we decided a long time ago that that name wasn't even going to be on our considerations list. However, I do absolutely love that name, and in another circumstance, I definitely would have considered it for my son. But I wouldn't have wanted to have something that was so close to my nephew's name, just because it would have probably been pretty confusing at family events if we were calling Rowan. So we ended up deciding that it just wasn't going to be a fit for us. So a little bit of history on the name Roman. Roman is a boy's name of Latin origin, and it actually stands for citizen of Rome, which clearly, you know, the Romans are the citizens of Rome. And so that's where it originated. When it started to get a little bit more popular as a first name, it took on a second meaning, and that is strong and powerful. And I can definitely see why those names would be associated with Roman. When you think of the history of the city of Rome, you think of a strong and powerful city, all roads lead to Rome. And when you think of the name Roman, it does definitely have that sort of like strength behind it. Like I said before, it's definitely a little gritty and strong sounding. So I think that fits it really, really well. The next name on my list is Ford. And I'll put that down here on the screen for you. F-O-R-D, Ford. Generally, this is used as a last name. I found with boys' names, I really love the sound of last names as first names, and I don't know why, but I'm very attracted to last names being used as first names. And there's actually at least 2 on this list that are traditionally last names, maybe more. But I love the name Ford, and I just think that it's short and simple, but it has some sort of body behind it. Like I can't even explain it. I just really love the way that it sounds, the way that it rolls off of your tongue, and I think that it just has a little bit of strength to it, has something behind it. And so I love the name Ford. When it came down to choosing a name for our child, it was definitely one of the top contenders for me on our list. It just didn't end up making it all the way to the top because my husband is extremely picky when it comes to boys' names. 8,000 times more picky with boys' names than girls' names. And so a lot of the names on my boys' list didn't even enter his radar when it came to naming our son. But I still really, really love the name Ford. So the name Ford is from English origin, and it means river crossing. So if you think of back in the day, any of you Oregon Trail players out there, you would ford the river with your wagon. So that is basically the true meaning behind the name Ford, is river crossing. I do like names that have some kind of like earthly meaning. My daughter Chloe's middle name is Stella, which means star. My daughter Mackenzie's middle name is going to be Willow, which is a tree. I think that I am attracted to some of those kind of more elemental or earthy or those type of names as well. So I like that about Ford, that it has sort of a earthy meaning to it. So the next name on my list is Reed. Now there's 2 different spellings for this that I like. One is R-E-I-D and one is R-E-E-D. So I will put them both down on the screen here below. I actually have ancestors whose last name is Reed, R-E-E-D, and so I do like that spelling as well. But the spelling R-E-I-D is much more popular for a first name if it is used as a first name. So the name Reed actually came from Scottish origin, and its meaning is red-haired. And it actually started as a nickname that you would call someone who was red-haired. So if you had red-headed people in your family, which in Scotland it is very common to have red-headed members of your family, you might call them Reed or Reedy. And eventually it ended up getting picked up as a last name and was very popular as a last name and still is. It is less popular as a first name, but it is still used as a first name. And I kind of love that it has a nickname kind of history to it because it's sort of different. The name Reed coming from starting as a nickname and turning into a real first name is kind of like a cool different thing. Usually it's the other way around. Maybe something starts as a name of something, then becomes a nickname. So I kind of like that about it. I also just think that it flows off the tongue really nice, and I like that it's short and simple. Same thing like with Ford. With Reed, it's just one syllable, short, simple, has some strength behind it, just flows off the tongue really nicely. And I just really appreciate the way that it sounds. So the next name on my list is a name that I absolutely love. It was a consideration for us for sure, but just didn't end up making it to the top. And that name is Judah. I know that this name is starting to become a little bit more popular now as an alternative for the name Jude. Also as an alternative for maybe some of the other Old Testament biblical sounding names like Jonah and Noah, which have become more and more popular over the years. But I do still love the name Judah, and I still don't think it's ranking very high on baby name lists. And if I'm wrong, you know, that's okay. Maybe this is probably the least unique on the list then. But I absolutely love it. And I think that it is just such a lovely sounding name. I think that it's a nice, softer men's name, and it has that, you know, AH at the end. It just really flows so nicely when you say it, Judah. It reminds me, I know I mentioned this name already, but my brother's name is Jonah, and so it reminds me of my brother's name. And I think that those type of names, Jonah, Noah, Judah, Micah, you know, all of those Old Testament men's names just have a really nice flow to them. And I think that it's nice that a lot of those names are starting to come back in popularity. So the name Judah is a Hebrew name, a biblical name. So Judah was the son of Jacob and Leah, and his name meant praise in the Bible. And so I think that that's a very nice message to have. Praise is something that's good to have behind your name. And the name Judah actually is what Judaism was named after. And so there's a long-standing tradition upholding the name Judah. And so I think that that is pretty cool. And if you were to use that name, there's a lot of meaning and a lot of history there. So that's definitely something that's very, very special about that name. Okay, so the next name on my list is a little bit more from mythology, and that name is Atlas. I'll put it on the screen here. That is Atlas. I absolutely love the name Atlas. I considered it for a middle name for our son, but it did not make it to the top. And I really absolutely just love that name. I think that the story of Atlas is pretty cool. And if you don't know it, he was the Titan that was tasked with holding the world on his shoulders, right? So imagine your name literally means like holding the world on your shoulders, which is another name with a lot of strength and power behind it, which I think is pretty great. I also love that the name Atlas has been used to, you know, describe a book of maps, and I love to travel, and I think that maps and traveling are so great and so cool. So I think having that name associated with that would be really awesome as well. So the name Atlas is obviously of Greek origin, Greek mythology, and the name actually means to carry. So it makes a lot of sense, right? He's carrying the world on his shoulders. So it means to carry. So obviously his name bears connotations of strength and perseverance, and I really, really love that about the name Atlas. So the last name on my list is actually another one that started as a last name, and so I think that makes 3 on this list that have been last names, and that name is Vaughn. I love the name Vaughn. I think that having that like V sound, that V is at the beginning of the name, it's just like, it's so cool. It has just this something special about it, you know, je ne sais quoi, something special about it behind that V sound, right? And I think that I really love the back-to-back consonants at the end of it. So that was one of the things I loved about my daughter's name, Chloe, CHL. So it starts out with 3 back-to-back consonants, and that's not really very common in a lot of words or names. So I love that about Vaughn as well. At the end, it's VAUGHN. So GHN in a row. I love that it has those, you know, back-to-back consonants. I just think that that's really cool. So those are some of the reasons that I love the name Vaughn. And also I like having unusual letters. My husband actually joked that our daughter, who's yet to be born, Mackenzie Willow, would actually be the winner in our family if we used Scrabble letters as, you know, a point system, because she has a Z and she has a W. And so I think that that's kind of funny to think about the letters in the name as being rare, as well as just the name being rare. So Scrabble letters are based on their point value is based on, you know, how rare that letter is in a word. So having a V or an X or a Z, those are kind of cool and different to have in your baby names. So the name Vaughn is actually of Welsh origin, and it means small. So it started out as a last name in Welsh culture. It's still used as a last name today all over the world, but it has been used as a first name, and it hasn't been extremely popular as a first name though. I think in the article I was reading, in the 1940s, it spiked up to being like the 350th most popular name, and that's like the highest it's ever gotten on the list of boys' names. And 350 back then was not high, seeing as almost everybody named their kid John, Robert, James. So those names were so overwhelmingly popular back then that the names that were further down on the list were really, really unpopular. So that's one that I think is definitely, you've heard it, but you probably haven't met someone named Vaughn. And if you have, you haven't met several Vaughns. Okay guys, I really hope that you enjoyed the boy version of my unique and uncommon baby names. I hope that I've helped to inspire you to name your child with one of the names that I have mentioned, or have at least gotten the ball rolling and sparks going in your brain to try and figure out what you're gonna name your baby. If you're here just because you love hearing baby names and you're not here to actually name your kid, I'd love to hear your opinions down in the comments below. I'd love to hear any other names that you can think of that are rare or uncommon or not that used. Down in the comments, let me know. And I had a couple of teachers comment on my old video telling me, wow, okay, a lot of these are uncommon as a teacher. So if you're a teacher, let me know if you've had students with these names, or if you have met a lot of people with these names or not, because I think that's so interesting. And depending on where we are in the world, honestly, the popularity changes. Here in the Midwest, in the US, these names aren't super, super popular, but where you're from, maybe they are, and I'd love to hear that as well. All right, guys, thank you so much for stopping by today. Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button on your way out today, and I will see you in the next one. Love you, babes.
We were young and we were free and running, never bothered about what could be coming. Every day we danced and life was smiling.